Picture this. It's 1721 AD. Russia controls more land than any empire before it. From the frozen Baltic Sea to the edge of China. From the Arctic Circle to the Black Sea. 1 in every 6 humans on Earth lives under Russian rule. The empire is unstoppable. A force that will shape world history for 3 centuries. Then, in the span of just 7 days in 1917 AD, it all collapses. The Tsar abdicates, the monarchy crumbles, and 300 years of imperial power, gone. But here's what they don't teach you in school. The Russian Empire didn't just fall. It was destroyed from within by secrets, betrayals, and decisions that haunted the throne for generations. This is the mystery they tried to bury. The hidden story of how the world's 3rd largest empire tore itself apart. And why its ghosts still haunt Russia today. Let me take you back to the beginning. Not the sanitized version you learned in textbooks. The real story. The one where an illiterate boy becomes the emperor who drags Russia into modernity. Where a monk with hypnotic eyes controls the empire from the shadows. Where a family is executed in a basement, their bodies hidden for 70 years. This isn't just history. This is a mystery. Every mystery starts with a question nobody dared to ask. What really happened to the Russian Empire? Because if you dig deep enough past the revolutions, the wars, and the propaganda, you'll find something shocking. The Russian Empire didn't die from external enemies. It died because the people running it made catastrophic decisions that poisoned everything they touched. The Russian Empire began with one man named Peter the Great. And when I say great, I mean it in the most complicated way possible. Peter was 6'8" in an era when most men were barely 5'5". He had a temper that terrified even his closest advisors. He once personally tortured rebels using devices he designed himself. But he was also a visionary, driven by one idea that would shape Russia for centuries, which was modernization. When Peter became Tsar in 1682, Russia was still medieval, isolated, and nearly a century behind the rest of Europe. So he did something no Russian ruler had ever done. He left Russia. In 1697, Peter traveled to Western Europe in disguise. He worked in Dutch shipyards as a common laborer, studied navigation in England, and also toured factories in Germany. And when he returned, he brought back a plan to rebuild Russia from the ground up. He forced nobles to shave their long beards, sacred symbols of Russian Orthodox identity. Those who refused were taxed. He brought in Western engineers and architects, and built a new capital, named St. Petersburg, on a swamp that consumed thousands of workers. But Peter didn't care. He needed a port. He needed access to Europe. He needed Russia to be taken seriously. And it worked. By the time he died in 1725, Russia had a modern navy, a reformed government, and territory stretching deep into Europe. But here's the thing they don't tell you. Peter's reforms came at a brutal cost. He centralized power completely. No checks. No balances. Just the will of one man deciding the fate of millions. And that concentration of power would become the empire's fatal flaw. Because empires built on one great ruler crumble when weak rulers follow. And Russia would get plenty of weak rulers. Fast forward to 1894 AD. A new Tsar takes the throne, which was Nicholas II. And from day one, he's drowning. Nicholas never wanted to be emperor. His father, Alexander III, was a giant, politically and physically. He ruled with an iron fist and kept the empire stable through sheer force. When Alexander died suddenly, Nicholas inherited a machine he was not built to operate. He was gentle, shy, indecisive, more interested in his family than politics. In an empire built on absolute power, weakness at the top is fatal. And Nicholas was weak. But Nicholas believed he had help. Or at least, he hoped he did. That help came in the form of Grigory Rasputin. A wandering Siberian peasant with no formal education, yet possessing something far more dangerous than knowledge, which was influence over the royal family. Nicholas and Alexandra's only son, Alexei, had hemophilia, a condition where a single injury could kill him. Doctors failed. But when Rasputin prayed over the boy, the bleeding stopped. Was it hypnosis? Faith healing? Luck? Nobody knows. But Alexandra believed Rasputin was a miracle sent by God. And through her, Rasputin gained enormous influence over Nicholas. He whispered advice on government appointments, and ministers rose or fell based on his word alone. To the Russian elite, it was a nightmare, their vast empire seemingly under the influence of a mystic with piercing, hypnotic eyes. Rumors exploded across Russia. That he was sleeping with the Tsarina? That he was a devil worshipper? That he was deliberately tearing the empire apart from within? Most of it was propaganda, but the damage was real. The people lost faith in the Tsar. If Nicholas could be swayed by a wandering peasant, how could he possibly lead an empire? The truth was simple. He couldn't. In 1914, Russia entered World In 1915, he left the capital to take personal command of the army. He believed his presence would inspire the troops. Threw him into a frozen river. When they recovered his body, water was found in his lungs. He had survived everything, except the river. February 1917, Petrograd. Women had gathered for International Women's Day, but instead of celebrating, they marched to protest bread shortages. Workers joined them. Then students. Then soldiers. Within days, the streets were flooded with 200,000 people. Nicholas ordered the army to restore order. But the soldiers refused. They joined the protesters. The Tsar's own army turned on him. Nicholas tried to return to the capital, but railway workers had blocked his train. On March 2, 1917, he signed his abdication. 3 centuries of Romanov rule came to an end with a single signature. Nicholas had expected to live out his days quietly in exile. Instead, he was arrested. When Lenin and the Bolsheviks seized power, the Romanovs became a threat they could not allow to survive. In July 1918, Nicholas, Alexandra, their 5 children, and their servants were taken to a basement in Ekaterinburg and executed. Their bodies were burned and buried in unmarked graves. For 70 years, the Soviets kept the truth hidden. In 1991, the remains were finally discovered. The mystery of the Romanovs was solved, but a larger question remained. How could the largest empire on Earth collapse so completely? History books often blame the Bolsheviks. Empire fell, it didn't vanish. It transformed. The Soviet Union kept the borders, maintained centralization, and even kept the secret police, only under a new name. In many ways, the USSR was the Russian Empire wearing a communist mask. And when the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, Russia was left with the same unresolved questions. Who are we? European? Asian? Both? How do we govern such a massive territory? How do we balance power with freedom? These questions haunt Russia to this day. The empire spread culture and art, Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, Tchaikovsky. But it also spread suffering, serfdom, famine, oppression. Empires shape the world long after they die. And Russia still carries the scars. The fall of the Russian Empire teaches a lesson far bigger than Russia itself. Empires built on systems that refuse to adapt always collapse. They rot from the inside long before they fall on the outside. The Roman Empire, the Ottoman Empire, the British Empire, the Russian Empire. All fell for the same reasons: too large to manage, too rigid to evolve, too confident to listen, and too slow to reform. Nicholas II wasn't evil, he was a tragic figure trapped in an outdated system. Had he reformed earlier, shared power, and modernized the government, perhaps the empire might have survived. But history chose a different path. The Russian Empire lasted 304 years, and then it vanished. But its shadow lingers, in politics, in borders, in culture, and in the way Russians think about power and identity. The empire is gone, but its ghosts still walk among us. The next time you hear about Russia, remember the empire behind it. The empire that tried to be everything: European, Asian, modern, medieval. And became a contradiction that destroyed itself. This isn't just a story of rise and fall. It's a warning. Ignore your people long enough, and they will show you where real power truly lies. By then, it's already too late. Empires don't just fall, they teach. The Russian Empire's final lesson is clear. No system, no matter how powerful, can survive if it cannot adapt to the people it governs. Ignore your people long enough, and they will remind you who truly holds the power. By then, it's already too late. The Russian Empire fell in 1917, but its story didn't end. It transformed, evolved, and continues to shape the world today. The real mystery isn't how it fell, but how it still haunts us, how the choices made a century ago in St. Petersburg and Moscow still echo in the present, and how an empire that no longer exists can still cast a shadow over everything Russia does. That is the legacy, the lesson, and the mystery they never teach you in school. If this story resonated with you, if you learned something they never taught in school, drop a comment below and tell us what surprised you most about the Russian Empire, and which empire you want us to uncover next. Hit the like button if you want more hidden histories, and subscribe to Past Unfolded because we're just getting started. The past isn't what they told you, it's what they tried to hide. And we're bringing it all into the light.